Beacon Press Audio presents Mayor of the Tenderloin, Dell Seymour's journey from living on the streets to fighting homelessness in San Francisco by Alison Owings. This audiobook is narrated by Jeremy Michael Durham, published by Beacon Press Audio, 2019.
Preface. One chilly evening some 3 decades ago, in an industrial section of San Francisco, I saw a man curled in a doorway. The sight so alarmed me that, having just heard a prediction the weather would turn bitterly cold, I rushed up, tapped the man on the shoulder, and gave him the warning. He looked at me blankly, in retrospect perhaps a gracious response, considering I offered nothing more than words. I walked on, and over the years, on and on, as such sights amid others more distressing became familiar. Never again did I tap a stranger on the shoulder. Instead, I often looked away. Then one morning, on a sidewalk in San Francisco's Tenderloin, a neighborhood often described in published accounts as seedy or gritty, ciphers for filthy and drug-infested, where I usually walk quickly, my steps slowed. A stick-thin woman lay on her back, legs spread, appearing unconscious. Because the Tenderloin is where about half the city's official tallied 7,754 homeless people live, the sight of someone in her condition had become common. This time, though, I looked closer, noticing that her t-shirt moved slightly. She's breathing, I thought. Several other people sat on the sidewalk near her, chatting. They must know her. They'll call 911 if necessary. Again, I walked on. My later shame came in realizing why I had paused, if only briefly. It was not because of a fellow human's distress. It was because of the single word printed in capital letters on her t-shirt. It read, respect. The plague of homelessness is soul-robbing to us all. Indisputably, it also overwhelms us. How in the United States could some 2/3 of a million people, the latest abominable statistic as of this writing is 653,104, have no home, something beyond a car or tent or friend's couch? The question of what well-funded federal and private institutions could and should do for them has morphed into the discomforting question of what we individuals with a home could and should do. For years, I took the question personally but defensively, rejecting options I felt incapable of following, such as inviting a stranger into my home. Other options felt like puny bandages, awkward gifts of a little money, a little food. For a long time, I considered using my oral history experience and my wariness about stereotypes to interview a countrywide range of homeless people, now commonly called unhoused or unsheltered people, then publishing the results. But feeling daunted by the very idea, yet compelled by it, I wavered. In 2015, amid this dilemma, my husband reserved tickets to a friend's play in the Tenderloin about its drug scourge. The theater also offered a pre-matinee walking tour of the neighborhood for a $15 donation. Why not? We signed on. At the appointed hour outside Cutting Ball Theater on Taylor Street stood a gaggle of white people, including us, and a tall, lanky, energized, light-skinned older brother, as one of his friends describes him. The man, who several times did a head count and checked his watch, dressed with urban élan. He wore a fedora, a suit, polished dress shoes, and a t-shirt advertising Tenderloin Walking Tours. This was our guide, Dell Seymour, then 68. Soon he led us down Taylor Street while saying, in a manner that suggested the retelling of a familiar story, he had spent many crack-addicted years in the Tenderloin, but had gotten clean. We nodded and followed. At the intersection of Turk and Taylor Streets, he pointed out a block that was once a drug trafficking hub. To help stem the problem, he said, cars may no longer park there. The stretch looked like any scruffy urban street to me, but in Dell's memory, a different picture clearly prevailed. Gesturing toward the few pedestrians, he said he had often slept where they walked, then added, I could have gotten a PhD in sidewalks. That sentence, ablaze with pathos and humor, launched this book. Our friend's play was great, but now of secondary interest. As soon as I got home, I did basic internet searches and from a few newspaper articles learned more about Del Seymour. Success as a young contractor and electrician, then longtime addiction and homelessness. Then not only recovery, but also steps toward what resonated as redemption. He planned to start an organization to give free job readiness classes to help marginalized people get out of or avoid homelessness themselves. Clearly, Del knew the subject from, the phrase is inescapable, the ground up. I phoned him. We met for lunch in Berkeley, a sociological midway point between the Tenderloin and my then home in Marin County. He rejected the restaurants I'd eagerly scouted, Turkish, Burmese, and opted for the plainest, where he ordered soup. Soup kitchen familiarity, I thought. He later reproached me for using the phrase soup kitchen, which I had not known to be objectionable. Dining hall is more respectful. Over minestrone and crackers, I told him my plan, to write a book about homelessness from the point of view and experiences of one person, him. Okay, sure, he said. Slow forward nearly a decade, many years longer than I thought this book would take. Del's inchoate plans for a free job training program he called Code Tenderloin kept evolving as he did, catapulting him from the type of street person I once avoided to a community leader dubbed Mayor of the Tenderloin. In those years, in many ways, Del never changed, sending me emails at 3 a.m, for example. His opinions on some matters evolved, but his basic outrage about people who take advantage of others never wavered. This project was not without hurdles. Soon after our formal interviews began, I learned Del considered certain subjects off-limit. I don't do family, he said. He emphatically did not want to name his father or brother. Then I learned something that gave me pause. One article described Del as an ex-pimp. Prostitution long has so upset me, I had to convince myself pimping was not only part of Del's past, but also informed his present and related to homelessness. Unbeknown to me at first, pimping is clearly a source of anguish to Del. In person, phone calls, and emails, he vehemently voiced concern and anger. What's the salvation part of this? He demanded. I attempted to explain my wanting to get a complete picture of him. Finally, as we both agreed he was trying to help a generation of young at-risk women, in effect, daughters of the prostitutes he pimped, the girls I ran, he sometimes put it, we tiptoed on. Through Del, the Tenderloin became in my eyes an intriguing, wrenching, hopeless, hopeful, lively, and sometimes dangerous place, although I never felt threatened there. I write these words days after 8 people were shot and wounded on the Tenderloin block where Del pointed out his PhD in sidewalks. Neither of us expected the interviews to take so long, in years or minutes. Last question, I once announced after an hour-plus session. Hallelujah, he replied. Yet I could always learn more, and Del seemed willing to expound, if not on all subjects. I interviewed 2 of Del's daughters as well, plus a variety of people from his past, including his last crack dealer. The only person who stood me up was one of Del's former prostitutes. When I told Del she never showed, he said she had some issues. Such as, I prompted, annoyed at the waste of time. Federal indictments. Del's years of homelessness proved a tangled skein the farther back he reluctantly reached. He preferred to talk about his post-homeless era, being understandably proud of it. Were his memories and recollections accurate and truthful? From what I could check, and there was much I could not, they mostly were, if with caveats. Del tried to help with fact-checking, but at one point his filing system was a pocket of crumpled money and random business cards, among other effluvia. He produced no work resumes. Furthermore, his accounts often included hyperbole. That city is
Sample complete. Ready to continue?